Welcome to Relationship Talk, the podcast where we have real conversations about love, well-being, dating, and relationships. In today's episode, I had a super stylish conversation with Harriet Chunu-McClatchey. He is a certified style coach and personal brand stylist who specializes in helping individuals and companies to boost their confidence, brand, and presence by aligning their personal style with their values without losing their identity. With experience in luxury retail and customer service for brands like Monica Vinader, Louis Vuitton, and Bvlgari, and mastering practical self-image psychology, Harriet empowers leaders, equips professionals, and drives transformational outcomes. You can find out more about Harriet's fabulous work in the show notes. During this conversation, Harriet shares a philosophy on how to wear your clothes rather than let the clothes wear you. She offers practical styling strategies to help overcome common limiting beliefs such as the fear of standing out, doubts about which colours suit us, imposter syndrome, body confidence, and societal expectations tied to age so that we can embrace our self-image in an authentic, empowering way. Also, on a budget, you will learn how to maximize versatility and creativity with both new pieces and the clothing and accessories you already own. Harriet also reveals her top dating app tips for showcasing your authentic self in a way that catches attention within the first 3 seconds. And so much more. You are about to get the whole RLT, aka Relationship Talk. So you're going to want to watch the entire episode. I truly hope that you find this conversation as beautifying as I did. And remember to subscribe, hit that like button and that notification bell. I'm Teresha Young, your international wellness and relationship coach. Enjoy, take notes, and get ready to apply all key messages you take away today. Hello, Harriet. Welcome to the show. How are you doing today?
I'm doing very well, thank you. And thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited.
I am so excited too, because I have never, this is quite a first for me on this season, had a conversation about personal styling. And that's what we're going to be having a conversation about today to help people to understand, I guess, now how best to show up in the clothes that they are wearing and what it represents. So I'm so looking forward to this conversation, Harriet. And so what I'm going to do is just firstly ask you to share with us what led you to becoming a certified style coach and an image strategist?
It started with my story. I grew up with low self-confidence, low self-esteem, which meant I often used clothes to hide behind, to cover myself. And it was a form of armor for me, to be honest with you. And with my creativity at the time and exploring art, eventually, as I was learning to understand who I am, learning to accept my body and the way that I was made and my skin color, I then, through my faith, found that I can actually use style and the way that I was getting dressed to support me on that personal development journey of self-acceptance, of loving the reflection in the mirror. And something that I was doing for myself, just to support me. I found that when I would walk into certain rooms, and at this point it was university, when I would walk into certain rooms, people didn't see a shy, insecure girl, but they saw someone who was put together, working in the fashion industry, and she just held herself up high. And little did they know that I was actually studying human resource management, so complete opposite ends of the spectrum, nothing to do with fashion. And I thought that how powerful it is that in me using style to support myself, to position myself, to essentially cover myself and honor myself, it actually communicated to others in the room and introduced me into the room. And I thought, what a powerful tool that we can use in different situations, different spheres, on stage, personal life, dating, as well as meetings to introduce us to the room, to command attention, but to
Yes.
also represent who we are and do that to the fullest. So that's what inspired me and led me onto the path of not just pursuing personal style, but to go even deeper and
Yes.
become a certified style coach.
Mm. I believe that your journey will be so relatable to many people who are listening to the show. When you use that word armor as well, I think that really landed with me because I have also used clothes in the past as armor, so to speak, to misrepresent myself, not knowingly, but more so because I had some limiting beliefs or, you know, societal expectations as
Mm.
to how I should be showing up. So, from your experience, then, what type of reasons are people sharing with you to wear the armor? You know, what limiting beliefs are showing up for them, if it is limiting beliefs?
It's great that you asked that question because sometimes it doesn't come across as that on the surface, you
Yeah.
know, and this is why I love style coaching because we go beneath what maybe you're telling everybody else or
Mm.
what you think it could be, but actually it's communicating something else.
Yes.
So, an amazing lady who is an executive business coach actually shared with me that, and she loves color. She's very vibrant in her personality. And she loves, colorful nails and she will show up in color virtually. But when it came to in person, her default was black because she said it was easy to wear. It was professional. It was, clean.
Mm.
But when we unpacked it, she actually said, you know what? I wear black because I don't want to be seen. It helps me feel invisible. And, she had some limiting beliefs in terms of how she saw herself, how she saw her size. Some other women, their limiting beliefs might be, I can't wear that because of the fear of being too much, the fear that they're being too loud and maybe taking up too much space or shining too brightly. Or I can't wear that because that's not professional. And there's a lot of unlearning and reframing that has to happen about what is professional attire or how can we merge professional attire with personality or without losing who you are in
Mm.
that process. Personal branding, what does that
Yeah.
look like? So those are just a few of the limiting beliefs and the thought processes that come up, and even some which I have personally said as well.
Yeah. So you've mentioned professional styling and you also use the word in the personal styling too. So I'm curious to hear your thoughts on the differences, if any, that are between personal styling and professional styling, and what key considerations ought we keep in mind if there is a difference?
The main one has got to be audience. So with
Mm.
personal styling, this could be for a teacher or a mother. It's more for self. Whereas with professional or executive styling, I would say it's more audience or your environment. For example, for a speaker who's speaking on stage, color is going to be more important because of the subtle nuances and cues that that's going to then give to the audience or the clients on the receiving end to either excite energy or to evoke introspection. Um,
Mm.
so, and then of course, if someone is seen majority of the time, they have a little bit more of a responsibility to not let that slip as much as someone in their everyday who maybe just wants to feel effortless when going on the school run, as opposed to someone who has a little bit more, weight or responsibility behind the role that they play, whether that's for deals, new clients, um, meetings, and things that have a significant weight on personal presentation, first impressions,
Mm.
and that impact.
Yeah. It's funny that you mentioned the school run as well, because my observation of the school run is that people dress very differently on the school run. There can be some people who quite clearly looks like they're off to work. There can some people who look like they've just come out of bed and they're wearing their onesies to school. So would you say that those attire, so to speak, is a reflection of that person's values, or is it just a case of it's easy to put on?
A mixture of both, but I think it's also their headspace because
Headspace.
I've heard that, yeah, so it's their headspace and what they want as a lifestyle. Because I've
Mm.
also heard of mothers who show up in heels and a Chanel handbag.
Yes. Hmm.
And we often wonder, where is the children's school work going to go? When they come and they show their parents, oh, I've done this, where's that going to go? But it's a lifestyle and it's a mindset. So that
Mm.
you have some people who they understand that regardless of where they're going, they are stepping foot from their house. So therefore they have to represent, or they have to show up well, or they have to lead well. Then of
Yeah.
course you have others who it's a process of efficiency. So maybe they're on their way to work, so they're
Yeah.
just going to show up in what they wear, so you don't have the fuss of having to change.
Yeah.
And then you do have the others who are like, you know what, I don't have time. I have 5 minutes. My children are, my first priority. And by the time it gets to them,
Mm.
they just throw anything on because it's just what works. And
Yeah.
that's that.
Okay. So many different considerations, and this is without any judgment, to anybody's in terms of the personal choices that they've made. It could be for any of those categories, and it is alone with the lifestyle, mindset, efficiency, all of those things that you've said. So again, maybe that refers to people's authenticity, and I know that's a word that we hear quite a lot. So I am very interested, Harriet, in terms of, in your view, what is authenticity and how does this show up in styling?
I think authenticity is your true self, the fullness
Mm.
of who you are. And that can take form in color.
Mm.
My husband, when I met him, he was he loves patterns more than I do, and he is very audacious in the way that he will put those two together. And he had a very unique pairing when I met him that he doesn't do today, but it also spoke to his courage. It spoke to when he wants something, he's going to go for it. So that came through in what he wore, in how he carried himself. And, even for me, I'm someone who's very creative. So you're going to find that in different details specifically. So I might not be in a print, but you'll see it in the detail or the combination of how I've put something together. So either it's unique or it's asymmetric in design, or it's just something that you will not find because that's just how my creative mind thinks. And I think if I was not to show up in that way, I would be doing myself a disservice
Yeah.
in not extending and letting everybody else see who I am and how true that is for me and my voice.
Yeah. So how does one unpack? Because that's a journey and that takes a lot of introspection in terms of, what is going on within ourselves and how we represent that externally. So what first step could we take in order to unpack that and to start discovering more about that?
I would firstly say get down to preferences. In the world that we live in with social media, there
Mm.
is so much noise about what is current, what is trendy, what's the holy grail, what's the newest
Yeah.
wall, what so and so should be wearing or shouldn't wear, or what this body type should be wearing. That it's very easy to get swept away in that wave. But if we were for a moment to just create space, to just pause and think about if you could describe in 3 words,
Mm.
without the distractions, without the noise, without the star personality quizzes, who is it that you want to become? And put it in 3 words, adjectives, put it in a statement, be creative with it, and then visualize what does that look like? What are they wearing? How are they carrying themselves? Is it a print or a color? And if it is, for example, a print, but at the moment you're nervous about wearing that because social media is currently pushing quiet luxury,
Yeah.
ask yourself why. Why are you nervous about it? Why are you scared about it? And you'll be so surprised at what comes up.
And that takes a little bit of time, obviously, to sit down. But if you allow yourself time to invest in all of that exploration, then you might say, aha, this is what I want. This is what I like. But I'm scared. Like there's so many, as we mentioned before, and there's some limiting beliefs that might show up. There might be imposter syndrome that might show up, or the fear of standing out, some of those things that you have. So for me, I think, one of the first things that came when I started to explore my styling was I can't wear that color. Red does not suit me. Or yellow, for example, like bright yellow doesn't suit me. So, what are some of the misconceptions when it comes to wearing color print? Because there's so many different variations, and which may actually stop people from exploring.
I think one of the reasons is you said it, so many variations which can overwhelm people first and foremost, but then also with the constant, advertisement or marketing, sometimes they can feel like there's only one color, one version of that red that they can wear. But if we take lipstick, for example, I'm even surprised by how many different shades and hue to red there are.
Yeah.
You've got the deep, rich, grape wine type looking red. And then you've got the other end, which is the vibrant, bright red as well. So same thing with wearing color that you can, and if we take red, for example, yes, you've got the bright red, but I even shared in my newsletter recently elegant color combinations to wear this winter based on the trend that burgundy has all of a
Mhm.
sudden branched out as the color to wear. And that is an alternative to red that doesn't feel as alarming, some could say, doesn't feel as in your face,
Mm.
but still does feel rich. So you can wear a burgundy or a merlot or even a wine, and that is too a version of red. Same thing with yellow. You've got the
Mm.
bright, luminous, but then you also have the softer canary yellows or even a muted yellow. So it's just discovering along the spectrum which one that you like and which one you want to wear. And sometimes it might even be position. So it doesn't always have to be by your face. You can also wear it on your lower half or even within a print so that it doesn't feel too overwhelming to wear such a solid color that you might not be used to, or it doesn't feel like you're stepping too much into unknown territory.
I love that. I love the gradual process there actually, because I was thinking, okay, so for example, if I'm not used to wearing a certain color, what I might do is get a bangle or get some sort of accessory first, just to kind of ease my way into the concept of wearing a color or that tone or that certain hue, which I think is really helpful for people who just want to start to build their confidence. Because, confidence is a word that I think really relates to the way that we dress and will almost stop us from wearing certain things. And I love when you said that you encourage people to wear their clothes
Yeah.
rather than have the clothes wear them. Is that correct? So
100%. Also because I've walked it, right?
yeah.
I've walked having my clothes wear me and just make me feel even more tiny or huge in some ways. And even for women who do have a different body size to me, they too have often felt like, okay, I need to go bigger because it doesn't fit. But
Mm.
actually, what that does is it makes you look even bigger than you actually are.
Yes.
Does the opposite effect of what you want it to,
Yeah.
then resulting in this feeling of feeling frumpy and feeling ugly or feeling like there's nothing available to you and you can't enjoy style because it's not
Mm.
for your size. But
Yeah.
what I love is, as I mentioned with color, same thing with shapes and silhouettes, there's something for all of us. And what really touched me was a recent client of mine shared that she no longer sees her style, her body weight, her size as a barrier to style, because style is what you get to choose, is what you make of it. And it's putting that power, empowerment back
Mm.
into our hands.
I love that reframe. because I know of people, for example, who were dressed in clothes that were way too big for them by their parents when they were growing up. And that was more a reflection of their parents' expectations on that child. And they've carried through these belief systems that, for example, they are overweight or they need to hide themselves because it was almost like a shame, I think, from the parents. So they've grown up with this shame. They've grown up with this kind of guilty feeling about moving outside of societal expectations or even their parents' expectations, family expectations. So I actually do want to, talk more about that in terms of the societal expectations when it comes, because the world of social media, we are seeing so much there and it's so influential on us,
Yeah.
particularly from a young age. And there is quite a bit of societal expectations out there. Also, things like age appropriateness. There are terms that are said that I don't believe are very helpful and can be quite derogatory, such as mutton dressed as lamb. Now, for example, some people are wearing outfits just because that's what they're used to. They might not, they might want to wear, for example, in no judgment, knee-high boots that they used to wear way back in the days, but they're carrying on that style. They're not necessarily evolving, but that's their comfort zone. So how can we support people to actually overcome those societal expectations and these norms that are put on us?
Yeah, I mean, if it's a friend, or someone that you can speak relationally to, then I would probably lovingly challenge because of course, as you mentioned, we're evolving. And if there's
Yeah,
a part of them that is not able to or is being held back
yeah,
because of the shame or the guilt or what
yeah,
was carried from previous generations, then being able to lovingly challenge them brings it into
mm,
their awareness because sometimes what they're doing is subconscious.
yes,
Not even like they realize that it's doing it, but because it's been so normalized, it's become their default. So now they're operating on autopilot. And they either need to be in a space where they can have that introspection and self-awareness, or they might need someone else to support them in, what is this doing to
mm,
you? Or is this supporting the goals that you currently have for this season of life? And if it's not, what can you do to change it?
mm,
My friend who I did an event with,
yeah,
um, founder of Model Me, she has this phrase where it's all about the vision. And then after the vision, anything else that you do from that is it going to support that vision? Is it
mm,
counterproductive to that vision? If it is, we're not doing it. It's not helpful. But if it is supportive of that vision, of that goal, of that new habit, then sure. So then it's also, again, empowering them to make that decision for themselves. Like, is this hindering me in any way, or is this actually propelling me forward? So I think having that conversation is
mm,
probably the most important so that they can see where it comes from. And then they can also put those steps forward to make those changes.
mm. And I love what you say about vision because I know you also mentioned visualization as well earlier in the conversation here. And I suppose when you are tapping into that vision and is it supporting me towards my goals or pushing me further away, that's such a great introspection to have there. And I think for many people, it may bring up some of these limiting beliefs and some of these expectations. And it's okay to explore that, to honor it, to explore those feelings, and then heal from it and just think, okay, is there a little bit of maybe self-forgiveness that needs to be applied on this? Or is it the forgiveness of others for what people have said, what people have imposed on me? So there will be some inner work to do alongside. Once you start doing that and giving some compassion to that journey, I truly feel that these things will start to feel aligned. Then you will have the confidence to have those heartfelt conversations with people to really, know, put forward your position in terms of where you are now. And we are involving people. We are, it's identity, isn't it? I know we've spoken about identity before. And as we grow and we evolve, its identity will change. And some people don't understand that journey. But it's a case of how can you express it to them in a way that is true to you. Is that authenticity that you said, Harriet, before, that what is true to you? What is your true self?
Yeah.
So we kind of alluded to values, and I just wondered, how do you help clients to represent their values through their personal style choices?
Yeah, no, this is one of my favorite things, and I touched on it briefly with myself as an example.
Yeah.
But when you have, again, it's all about creating that space. And this is why the way that I do personal styling is so different, because I want it to be aligned with who they are. And when it is aligned, it lasts so much longer than, just an event, or it then becomes, a lifestyle and then a shift in
Mm.
perspective. But how I do it with my clients is, that space to firstly identify, as you would with any other coach, what are the values that you have with your family, with yourself, in your decision making, in the way that you want to show up with your clients. And once they're able to pinpoint that and have clarity around that, then I look at especially what makes sense to them and their preferences. Then I translate that into physical pieces, and whether that is in subtle details.
Mm.
So there was a lady in our event that we did last a few weeks ago, and she said that she's very expressive, she's very bold, but she's also quite refined. And what I did was I helped her to make sense of how those two things that can often feel quite opposite. But, and for example, the bright and vibrant comes from her culture and how she
Mm.
was brought up and where she's from. And then the refined was also in terms of her work and her career, but also just her preference for tailored and cleanliness. So these and these are the things that and being intentional with her purchases and how she makes decisions. And then I was able to put this into almost like a formula and a base and like an ingredients list of what makes up her style, from the detail to the silhouette
Mm.
to what colors, and make it personalized, so that I'm not just saying, oh, you wear this color and this dress and this, but then she's able to replicate it because this was the base, this
Mm.
was the outer layer, this is where the color comes in. Um, and it's not always going to be a bright jacket, for
Mm.
example. So when we get so specific into how her style personality formulates, then she's able to replicate that on her own.
Oh, I love the tailored work, how personalized it is to that person. Because as we were saying before, in the collective world, there's so much sameness that we can see. And for people, it's like, how do we show up as our true self? And that kind of quality work that you're doing there is so amazing for that person. Because I'm sure then that translates into how they show up confidence wise, how they express themselves, and also the energy that they radiate, from that. And I love that you are, radiant styling, because I think it's all about, how we radiate and show up in the world, which is so important. Now, of course, if we are starting to explore different styling options, question, is having a lot of clothing and accessories always a good thing? Because I think for me, sometimes it can be like analysis paralysis. I'm
Right.
standing there like in my wardrobe going, oh, eeny, meeny, miny, mo. I just end up standing there. So can we actually have too many choices?
I would I would say yes and no.
Mm.
If you have the vision, if you understand your style, if you have, some basic outfit formulas, which essentially are how a look is built upon, that can be mixed and matched, then I would say no, because then those options, those clothes and accessories can then be used to mix and match and switch and create versatility and
Mm.
creativeness. But for the person who maybe doesn't have that strategy or that foundation, or knows how to maneuver their way around it, it can feel overwhelming. If they don't have a vision for where they want to be, a lot of the clothes and the accessories might not be speaking to who they're becoming. So then therefore that's going to impact their decisions in the morning. And it's, what do I dress? I want to be like this, but I've got outfits that represent me 10 years ago, but then I also don't have time and I want it to be effortless. But then I've changed so much, but I've just got to default to this. So it can be a good thing and both a bad thing at the same time, but it's really how we approach it. And I think for some people, it's understanding what suits your preference and your lifestyle. So for some people, genuinely having too much clothes, it's not worth it. You know,
Yeah.
they just need a set amount. I actually met he has his own networking group, and he's great. And he says he just needs a blueprint and he will have X amount of shirts, X amount of
Yeah.
jackets. He's set for his walking. He's got some core shoes, and that's it for him. And some people, that's how they operate. I don't think I could do that because in my nature, I need innovation. I need pieces that I can tuck and twist and layer and add and remove and push up sleeves and what have you.
Yeah.
But that's because that's who I am and that's what I need for my lifestyle, for my work. So it's not a straightforward answer,
Yeah.
but it's really dependent on who you are, where you're going, what is it that, yeah, who you want to become, and then what is it that you need from your wardrobe to support that lifestyle and to support your goals, because that's the only way that it's going to work in tandem with your
Mm.
morning routine, with, you know, what you're trying to achieve and more.
Yeah. When you were talking there, Harriet, the grief process came to my mind because so many people, like including myself, can have attachments to certain items of clothing because they either conjure up a good feeling or a memory.
Yeah.
For those people who are finding it difficult actually to let go of items of clothing and accessories, what encouragement would you give to them?
I would firstly take that moment to appreciate it because
Mm,
it definitely served its time. It supported you through whatever moment. Maybe it helped you or, you know, made you look fabulous during a milestone. So, you know, acknowledge it for what it's worth. But then also take a moment to say, but does it mean now? You know, and if it doesn't really have its space now,
yeah,
then, you know, maybe you need to create space for where you are now and look at what options do you have? Is it something small enough that you can frame and
mm,
hang up?
yeah,
So do you have a picture in it? Because then you might not need the physical garment, but you just need
mm,
whatever's going to evoke that memory, and a picture can do that. Is it something that can be put in a box? Do you have space to
mm,
create this memorabilia that you can bring out every few years and reflect on it? If you have space, amazing. If you don't,
mm,
that's fine too. And my third one would be, if it's still in good condition, can you donate it? Now, sometimes donating can be or have a negative connotation with you're just throwing it away. But donating, actually, if we reframe it to you're giving this piece another lease of life, and you're letting someone else to engage
mm,
their own memories with that piece. And isn't that worth
yeah,
giving or, you know, extending to someone else to have and essentially allowing that garment to live longer than maybe, you know, just hang at the back of the wardrobe where
mm,
someone else could be enjoying it and taking pictures and what have you. And
mm,
then in terms of the letting go,
yeah,
what you're doing is you're just creating physical space for the pieces that can support you, propel you,
mm,
reflect more of you today. Because the
yes,
woman, the person today also deserves to be seen, also deserves to be celebrated, and also deserves to be represented.
yeah. Oh, what a lovely, compassionate, gentle process that you have said there. And I do think that those three tips that you've given are going to resonate with certain people because I know people who will sometimes, get their clothes and they will turn it into a cushion or they will turn it into a pillow or something like that that may have some memories, or maybe it's an item of clothing from somebody else that they have been wearing. So I love the fact that you can actually transmute that experience into something else that is still really powerful and meaningful for you or for another person. I think that's such invaluable advice that you have, or guidance, tips that you have given there. So with people, because this is also something that you probably do hear, is the word budget. And people may say, oh, I am working within a budget. So how can they maximize their versatility? I know that's a word that you've used before, and creativity with either new items or the items that they already have at home.
I firstly, I'd start off with the clothes that you already have. Most often than not, I will dare to say 90%, we are wearing a certain set or a piece of clothing the same way every single time. So if we can maybe look at it and whether, going onto Pinterest, different ways that you can wear this jumper, different ways that you can wear this skirt, so that you're getting a new lease of inspiration
Mm.
to say, oh, I actually didn't, my clients say this all the time. Oh, I didn't think about pairing it with
Yeah.
this. I'm going to
Mm.
try that. And
Yeah.
then they're like, oh my goodness, this actually works. Or I don't know why I never tried this before.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's maybe looking externally for, encouragement and
Mm.
inspiration, or even films. You might see a film and think, oh, wow, I like the way she's paired that. Let me see
Yeah.
something similar to really just rejuvenate the options that currently you go to very easily.
Yeah.
And that's a great way to save money. In terms of new pieces, I always like to say that new pieces doesn't always have to be expensive
Mm.
pieces. You can create amazing, elevated, polished style without spending £395 on a jacket, you know? It's really going back to the details, how something was made. That's what's going to really make a difference.
Yeah.
And, I encourage clients to make a list of some of the things that you would love to try, to explore. Go out and try them on with what you have. Do you
Yeah.
like how this blazer sits? Do you like how this jacket is? Is this
Mm.
something you can see yourself wearing often that's going to work with the other outfits you have? Um, and in this list, some people think that when you make a list of everything you need in your wardrobe, you have to buy it there and then. And not
Mm.
everybody has that budget. So what I like to say is make a priority. Just like how we have a to-do list,
Yeah.
we might make three top priorities from that to-do list of what we're going to focus on, because that's the most important. So do the same thing with your list. Check your budget. What season are you in? We're in winter. There is no
Mm.
point buying something for summer now because it's not going to serve you in this current season. But if you need it for summer because something's coming up, then that makes sense.
Mm.
So evaluate what's currently happening for you right now. What do you need? Do you need a rain jacket because we're in that time? And focus on that, and if it is a thing of you really want a great quality jacket, but the ones right now that you're looking at, it's much higher than you can afford, I would then suggest look at secondhand pieces. Look at brands that are in that mid range. There's a lot of options, especially in like department stores, like, Westfield, where they've got a range of different prices that you can look at. And sometimes it might take investing, especially if it is something like a jacket that you
Mm.
wear all the time, or even a pair of shoes. Because if
Yes.
you invest in that, it's going to last you a long time, as opposed to, spending the same amount every single few months to have
Mm.
just ended up spending that amount that you would have spent on that jacket or those shoes months
Mm.
ago.
Yeah. And I love what you're referring to there because I think for many people, they may be thinking, oh, but it was so last year. And it's so last year, or so 2 years ago, or so 6 months ago. But
Mm.
what I'm hearing is that there is longevity in our clothes, and we don't have to succumb, I suppose, to whatever expectations there may be in terms of, oh, that was last winter's, you can actually carry it forward and just be very versatile. So for me, and my family do laugh at me, is that if I want to get quite versatile, I will wear what they have termed my championship belt. So basically, it's a belt like what I've got on here at the moment, and I will use that to pull things in. So this is a scarf that I've got on, but I put my championship belt on in order to create some shape. So,
Mm.
and I've used that from an accessory inside my wardrobe. And that's how I get that variety, and that's how I get that versatility. And something for me, and I'm not sure whether you do encourage this, Harriet, is that there was a technique that someone shared to say, whenever you wear an item of clothes, put the hanger in a certain direction.
Mm.
Therefore, you will see over time which clothes you are using and which ones you're not. So, for example, if you're not using that item of clothing and you've not used it for a very long period of time, that's a good time for you to say, natural fact, do I need this? And what's holding it on? Now, what's holding me on to this item of clothing too? So that can also help me to go into a state where I'm not feeling overwhelmed, when I'm replacing the items and the wardrobe's getting really cramped and everything's starting to bend. And I'm like, okay, let me have a look to see what I need and what I don't necessarily need. So I don't know whether that's a technique that you also share with your clients, whether you've got other techniques in terms of, how you can make that evaluation.
I mean, I think it's not something I use personally, but I think it's a great technique, especially for those who sometimes need the day to day in order to see, oh, wow, I'm not gravitating towards those jeans. I'm not gravitating towards that jumper. Um, because yeah, it's important to see, and some people need to physically see it that they're not
Yes.
wearing it. And because it's so easy for things to get hidden
Yeah.
at the back of the wardrobe.
Yes.
And I think that's the only thing why I don't personally recommend it, just because not everybody has the same wardrobe
Yeah.
size.
Yeah.
So some people, of course, if you've got hanger space, do that. But then for those who don't have hanger space and maybe they're relying on drawers, um,
Yes.
to fold their clothing, then I would recommend that you probably just need to spend an hour looking at a specific area. So whether it's your bottoms, whether it's your tops, and looking at, oh, have I worn this recently? No? Okay, make a no pile and make the one
Mm,
wear regularly. Then look at the no pile and, similar to what you've said, assess, why haven't I worn it? What's come up? What hasn't come up? Is it the shape? Is it the
yeah.
color? Oh, I actually just bought this on a whim. It still
Mm,
has the tag. Maybe I can sell it, so that will also, taking inventory is what I like to call it,
yeah.
so you can make better informed decisions going forward.
Yeah. Brilliant. I want to move on to dating apps as well, because for many people that I work with as well, they are seeking love and they may be on the dating app. And there's so many choices. There's so many choices. There's so many people on the app. And sometimes we think, how can we best represent ourselves? So when representing ourselves on a dating app, what are your top tips for showing an authentic, as we said, self that catches the attention of someone, let's say within the first 3 seconds, because it's literally like a catalogue. People will be seeing the same or the same or the same. So, how can we create that intrigue in somebody within, let's say, the first 3 seconds or so forth, that they will pause and they will stop and they will see you?
Mm. I think, firstly, going back to values, going back to authenticity and what makes you you. For me personally, it's my hair. So whether it's like this or if
Yeah.
it's in its curly fro state. So things that I love is my hair, my statement earrings. So it's
Yeah.
making sure that these are at the forefront, because this is what people sometimes know me by. This is what I do on a day-to-day basis. So this is what you're going to get. So making sure that whatever features, whatever details make up who you are, that you are capturing that and making sure that that's at the forefront and that's shining. Because what you don't want to do is put a picture that oh yeah, it's decent, it's what everybody else is doing. And then when it comes to the first date, you've almost felt like you've held part of yourself back. But being true, being authentic is presenting your best self. And
Mm.
whether that is through statement jewelry, your hair, if it's a color that you love wearing, if it's a dress that you felt incredible in, I would say prioritizing those pictures because that, authenticity, that realness, if you will, that intentionality will definitely be different to
Mm.
compared to what everyone else might be posting and might be putting. And that should create that intrigue for someone to stop and be like, wow, I've never seen that before. Wow, there's something about, the radiance that she's exuding that makes me want to stop and look at her and or look at them and read their profile. And then you see their shared value. So you want whatever it is to pull them in so
Mm.
that they can stop, read through and be like, oh, wow, there's actually a few things that we have. And I'm so glad I didn't just swipe past.
Yeah. Oh, we're going to get a few more people swiping right. I think that's how it goes. No, yes to that. So that's a brilliant tip. Harriet, now that we're actually moving into love, dating, and so forth, I do like to ask my guests a little bit about their personal experience, if it's okay with you, when it comes to romantic life and when it comes to relationships, just reflecting upon your past and current relationship as well. What have been some of your experiences and key learnings from those over time?
One that is standing out to me so strong right now is just how much I didn't value myself. And
Mm.
that then flowed into the way that I was allowing previous relationships to then treat me. If
Mm.
I didn't value my time or put healthy boundaries, which meant they could then step into those spaces or they can
Yeah,
then treat me in a way that I didn't deserve to be treated. And I
yeah.
found that when I recognized that those things were happening and I knew that, oh, I can put healthy boundaries in place, I can communicate my values and allow myself to almost say if they don't match with those values, it's okay for me to say no.
Mm.
And then that made room for those who actually valued who I am, what I have
Yeah.
to say, and that treated me as the jewel that I am.
Mm.
So I think that value of self and worth was a huge one for me that I can drastically see, the different people that came or wanted to speak to me and who I allowed in versus what happens when I actually put, the boundaries and the self-love and the self-acceptance in place.
How wonderful. And when you started to assert those boundaries and self-acceptance, how did it make you feel?
There was a tug of war
Yeah.
between, oh, but I might not be getting as many messages, or I
Mm.
might not be in as many relationships as others were. So there was that tug of war of what everybody else was doing, and that was the norm for me back then, as opposed to, I prioritized marriage. I wanted to get married. So
Mm.
I also had to look to my vision and
Yeah.
ask myself, is this the kind of person that I'd want to
Yeah.
marry? Someone who doesn't match my values. So I really had to um, be specific with myself.
Mhm.
And at the same time, it felt uncomfortable, but
Yeah.
I felt stronger for doing so. And I'm so glad that I did because I'm 2 years married in now, and it's been the best that I couldn't have ever pictured or imagined for myself. So it's definitely been worthwhile, you know,
Mm.
going through the uncomfortable stages at that time so that I could make sure that I get to the next stage of life that I really, desired for myself.
Yeah. That's great work because vision, values, when they become aligned, then we can see what's not quite working for us and start saying yes to ourselves, no's to this people, to the situations, and start saying yes to ourselves. And as you said, you've now come into alignment with, your husband, who you are able to say, okay, if you didn't do that work before, then what would have happened along your journey? So that's really great work. Something that came to me when you were saying that word V, do you, and please correct me if I'm wrong, do you have a VIP acronym?
I do have a
Yes.
VIP acronym.
Remind me what that is, because I was just trying to see, is that aligned um with your personal life? So yeah, what's VIP again? Remind me. Just trying to think.
Now that you say it, it probably is. So, of course, everyone knows VIP means very important person, but I think
Yeah.
we're all very important people. So for me, VIP stands for vision, identity, or even integrity, and presence. And I
Mm,
believe that when you have those three things, those three attributes, and when they're in alignment, not only does that create, consistency for your brand and impact, but then it also cultivates, a level of just accepting your value and accepting your worth and just encouraging that radiance to shine through so that everyone gets to experience
yeah.
more of who you are and bring that to the forefront.
Yeah. I can totally see, how that aligns with your journey as well. You are living your own VIP experience there, which I think, is a great representation of what you do when it comes to your work. So, staying on the theme of love, what is your personal definition of love when it comes to romantic experiences?
I mean, I would say I didn't always understand what love meant. I thought love had to be validating. I thought love had to be, um, it had to be what I found in the books. I was a huge reader when I was younger, but now I know that love is sacrificial, love is unconditional, love will actually encourage to lovingly challenge because they want you to be the best. They want you to not, live with a scarcity mindset, for example, and therefore they will lovingly challenge you on what you're not doing so
Mm,
that you can cultivate more of who you're supposed to be. So it's challenging, it's sacrificial, it's unconditional, um, but it's also very, very beautiful.
mm. Oh, amazing. An amazing personal description of what love means to you. So, Harriet, we are going to bring this conversation to a close now. And can I just say, it's just been so inspiring, talking to you. It's been so enlightening. I really do believe that people are going to start to understand the importance of your connection with the clothes that you're wearing, the values, what you are representing, how you feel, so that you are able to really wear your clothes with
Yeah.
confidence, which is so super important. And to start to explore what that means for you. Where are you going? How are you going to represent yourself? What are you leaving behind lovingly with compassion? What can you hand over to other people? You shared so many gems during this conversation. And I do have a parting tradition when it comes to my shows to ask our wonderful guests to leave our listeners with at least one key takeaway to help them along their journey of love, life, well-being, and relationships.
Oh, that's a good one. I think my key takeaway that I would love to just pour out and extend is to truly, truly take time to understand what it means to value you. Because when you value yourself, your unique voice, your skin, your body, your personality, you will start to honor and respect that and actually welcome in what is for you, what can edify you, what can encourage growth and bring love and sincere conversations and encouragement and support. Because I've found that when you don't understand that, or when you misplace that, not only do you hurt yourself in the process, but then you also prevent experiences from happening that could be life-giving to you, that could, you know, encourage expression, you're preventing that from happening. And we don't want that. So
Mm.
take time to understand what valuing the whole you looks like.
Wonderful. That word life-giving. Oh, that really, really resonates with me. It does. So thank you for that share. Harriet, where can people connect with you, possibly work with you if they are interested to do so? Where are you hanging out?
Recently, I've been hanging out on LinkedIn, so you can find me at Harriet Chunu-McClatchey. Feel free to follow, send a message. I would love to connect with you. And on LinkedIn, you can find my email address, the link to book a complimentary call if you want to find out what exploring your style, what stepping into impact and radiance looks like for you, or just to discover what's out there as well. And I can also do virtual tea and chats as well. So that's the main place. But if you are on Instagram, I am there at Radiant Styling.
Beautiful. And can I also say that I am a fan of Harriet's newsletters as well? She gives so much value, so much impact. So please make sure that you sign up for that too, because I've seen her content and it's so inspiring. And I do think, oh, yeah, I love that one. So brilliant. I am going to drop all of Harriet's details into the show notes, her contact details, her social media handles, how you can find her. So please make sure that you do check it out. Once again, Harriet, thank you so much for today. I thank you for your time and your energy. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Honestly, it's been so beautiful.
Beautiful. Thank you. And also for every single person who has listened to this episode, I want to thank you for your time, for your attention, and for your energy. And until the next episode, or before I go, have a look at my earrings. I thought I would go a little bit bold and right, encouraged and also inspired by Harriet. So again, I want to thank you for your time, for your energy, and for your attention. And until the next episode, take great care of yourself and others too.